Welcome back to another episode of the Steebee Weebee Show. Hi, Stan. We have a very special guest tonight. Please welcome artist Andrew Schoultz.
I love the piano.
Thanks for coming, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we were talking right when you came in. I enjoy watching your skateboarding footage on your Instagram. I get hyped when I saw two clips. You did an impossible on the first one that I saw, and a pretty big pop shove it on your latest.
Thanks.
Yeah, so
I might have even done that pop shove it for you, man. Because
that's my
I actually heard that you liked that trick.
That's like,
and I skated on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I thought, could I do a big ass pop shove it that maybe Steve would like?
Yeah, you really popped it. Are you goofy?
I am goofy.
Yeah, goofy. Yeah.
What's your wheelbase?
52.
No, wheelbase.
Oh, what is that?
Distance between your trucks. Do you know that
one?
one?
No, I don't know that.
That's a crucial one. Yeah. I want to say it's probably 14 inches. I think it's 14 inches.
Yeah, it's a popsicle stick.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, I have indies.
7 3/4.
7.75. Yep, 7.75.
Nice.
I actually, when I first started,
I always ask that to skateboarders. So I go, "What's your wheelbase?"
I just whatever the shop has.
Because that one's crazy.
That
that's a crazy one because you know what? Like the one thing I've learned with skateboarding, is the wheelbase is actually the most important measurement in your skateboard.
Why is that?
Because that's the distance that your trucks are apart and your wheels. So, in fact, like a lot of times for me, I've always been like worried about my skateboard. Like, oh, if I switch something up too much, I'm not going to be able to do my tricks. And that one is actually the most important one. You can get like a weird skateboard, but if your wheelbase is on point, like 9 times out of 10,
it's gonna work out.
Tricks are going to still work.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is it better, the wider the better, or like how does that work?
No, I think, 14 inches is what I've always skated, and that looks like what you're probably skating.
Yeah.
And recently I got thrown like a little monkey wrench in my program, and I bought a board from a skate shop, and it was 14.25. Oh. So it was just a little off from 14, and it really messed with me.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back. So where are you originally from, Andrew?
Originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Wow. Yeah. Far from where we're sitting right now.
And then how did you get involved with skateboarding and then art?
I started skateboarding in around 1985, but before that I was into BMX.
Oh, you were? You used to do the jumps and stuff?
More like freestyle stuff. So, and I've actually heard this story quite typically from, I'm 43 years old, and I don't know how old you are. You're 40?
Yeah, I'm around there too.
Oh,
I'm like
okay.
right around,
so we're around the same generation.
Yeah.
And recently I've heard this a lot, like a lot of skateboarders that I admire, they were like, oh, I was skating and or I was riding a BMX, and then I got into freestyling, and then this magazine came out called Freestyling. And then they always would sprinkle in a little skateboarding, and, Spike Jones was actually working for Freestyling magazine, which is something.
I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I recently learned that, or not recently, but not too long ago, it all kind of clicked together because he was working for that magazine, shooting, and skateboarding was being put in that magazine. At the time, riding a bike, I was suddenly like, oh, the skateboarding thing looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me into skateboarding.
That makes, the way you worded it right there makes perfect sense in my world, because I'm from a smaller town in San Diego, Poway, Rancho Bernardo.
Right.
And in the plaza, this mall that we used to go to, this outside mall, they had a bike store. But in the bike store back in those days, you'd have your bikes, but then there's a small section where they had like skateboards.
Right.
So that's how it was introduced, at least in my world. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
for
this
sure.
is cool. There maybe have been like 8 decks or something. I mean, a very small little area, but it was introduced to me that way.
Yeah, and where I grew up, it was similar. We had a place called Rad Sports, and it was a lot of BMX stuff, which I was into, and then it was also skateboarding. And that shop's actually still there today.
That's crazy.
But now it's called Phase 2.
Wow.
And that was owned by the family of Paul Zitzer. I don't know if...
That sounds
It's
familiar.
a Tampa guy who was pro for Birdhouse for many years, vert skater, but also a really good street skater.
That's what's up,
and still friends with him to this day.
You're still friends with him?
Yeah, and he works a lot with Street League. He's a commentator on Street League, and also still works with all the guys at the skate park at Tampa. And all that stuff.
So, man, that's a trip that, like, because you're taking it way back. What are your thoughts on today's skateboarding, like how crazy kids are nowadays?
I mean, it's
insane.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
But I would like to say I like super pay attention to it, but like I look at Thrasher Mag, and it's awesome to see Tyshawn Jones win Skater of the Year.
That kid's amazing. Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really cool to watch for me. I mean, I think skateboarding's gone through a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And, for me, like at this point, I'm really happy to be like
you're still
doing it.
You're still on your board.
Yeah.
That's
for
That's
sure.
amazing. I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, it seems like kids are way more advanced. Like, it took me years to learn a kickflip. Like, it took me a long time.
Yeah. Same here.
And going back to the shove it, I learned the pop shove it before even, like, I could kind of ollie, but I one day I just went like that, and then it did the shove it movement. I go, whoa, that's weird. And I just kind of started working on that first. But would you agree that kids are, like, picking it up a lot?
Yeah,
faster?
I think though it's just like how you come up, because like, and you hear this all the time when you hear skateboarders or even guys that are in their 30s now that would be like kids that came up way after us, like they came up watching like a Zero video, whereas I came up watching Future Primitive,
right, or the VHS.
So it's
tape.
like,
yeah,
and I think that's like the most kind of like a really cool thing for me as a skateboarder is that like, I came up like literally where ollieing up a curb was like unfathomable. So it's like doing a boneless or like street plants. And then all of a sudden I learned how to ollie. Then I was like kick flipping and
or
then
180s.
And then like finally someday I was like, doing stuff on Hubba Hideout. So it's like, it's crazy to go from like that full spectrum of like, from almost nothing to like something. So like for me, when I came up, like the idea of a 360 kickflip was like absolutely insane. But now a kid comes up and they're like, oh, you Smith grind a 15 stair handrail. That's just what kids do. So, I think it's just that mental and psychological thing.
Yeah, we didn't have YouTube.
Like,
I mean, these kids could look up how to do whatever trick, laser flip. They could just look it up on YouTube.
For sure. For sure.
So, like, did you get sponsored when you were younger? And then, like...
Yeah. Okay. I wrote for some companies for many years. My first sponsor was actually Beer City Skateboards.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Beer City Skate, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, and, there was some really good riders. There's a really good group of guys that, comes out of, like, my era of Milwaukee. Another guy who's still pro, who's pro for Creature right now, named Al Pardonen, still a good friend of mine. And, Sam Hitz. There's a lot of good guys that came out of Milwaukee skating.
Yeah.
So we had a crew, and a lot of them, one of the first board companies that came out of Milwaukee was called Beer City Skateboards.
I like that name.
And they did like, it was a funny story. They like did blank boards. They were like the pioneer of the blank
blanks.
board for like really cheap. And
But
this
they
is like
put a
in
sticker on it or something?
well,
They
you
had no
could, but
logo?
like in the industry, this was like a big thing because like they were selling these blank boards for like $30 or $25 in the shop, but like the boards from like companies with graphics, with pros and all this stuff, those boards
40,
were like 50
yeah,
or
50,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So they were like undercutting everybody. It was like a kind of a big deal at the time, but yeah, that was like my first sponsor. And then soon after that, I actually got hooked up with like ATM and
I
New
remember the
School.
ATM, yeah.
And so I wrote for them for many years, and then for years after that, after I moved out of Milwaukee in around 97, I moved to San Francisco, and
Wow.
you know, that was to, you know, because I wanted to go there to skateboard.
Yeah.
It's also a graffiti mecca at the time, but also to go to school.
That's what's up.
So
Do you go to
there's
art school?
Yeah, I did go to art school
Oh,
in
wow.
San Francisco. So, you know, I moved there, and we were doing a lot of that, or I was doing a lot of that stuff at the time, but also, you know, at the time I moved there and I met a lot of people and got in the scene there with skating and graffiti and stuff like that.
Would you say that you got introduced to graffiti through skateboarding?
No, actually not.
okay.
I got into graffiti.
Yeah, how did you, I'm just curious, how did you get into
I got
graffiti?
into graffiti in the, you know, through, you know, the movies Breakin' and Beat Street and stuff like that. And so
Explain to the viewers, because they might not know what that is, but those were monumental movies from the 80s, right?
they were monumental movies from the 80s,
Yeah.
and they were
Electric Boogaloo.
kind of, yeah. Well, that was
Breaking. That was after.
2.
Okay, that was Breaking 2.
And Beats,
Who's the one with
I think
Turbo? I remember this Turbo character.
That's Breakin'.
Yeah.
Turbo
was
and
sick.
Ozone.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys are sick. Yeah. So go back to that.
You know, I think Beat Street was more like of a quintessential movie
Yeah.
because it took place in New York City and it had to do with like sort of based on what was like sort of really happening at the time. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that Break-In wasn't talking about the West Coast, but I feel like Beat Street was more like a realistic portrayal.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was in like the 2nd or 3rd grade at the time.
Yeah, I think
and
I was
so
too,
like I
yeah.
got into Break-In, and
Yeah.
then like my main reference to like the art was to like, you know, do the cardboard that you know, me and my brother were breakdancing on and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was kind of my introduction to graffiti. And then I feel
Because
like
the tagging on the boom boxes and stuff? Or?
yeah, stuff like that. And then just like, you know, in the movie they were painting trains and doing all that stuff.
So you took notice of that as a kid?
Yeah, for sure. But I think too, like, so for art wise, like I came up like, you know, my father was really into drawing, and so he would doodle a lot. And then when me and my brother were really young,
You have older or younger?
I have a brother that's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
And we both kind of got into comic books at a very early age. And then, so like we had babysitters that my parents got us babysitters that were super into comic books too.
That's cool.
And they would draw comic books. So I
While
would
they're babysitting you?
Yeah, they were babysitting us, and they were super into comics, and so they would be drawing comics, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool,"
sick, dude.
and I would copy them.
Yeah.
But then what got me into graffiti basically a few years after that was that like in the movie Beat Street, the character Ramo, who's like the main graffiti character, he said, "Oh, this graffiti stuff was easy because I was just into comics, tracing comics and stuff." So like as you know,
that's
it's
the
like,
dialogue from the movie?
Yeah,
And you
that
remembered
was,
that?
Yeah, for sure. And of course I remember that. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like super monumental moments
Yeah.
at the time. And then so immediately it just related to me because I like already was interested in it. And then in the movie, he's like, "Oh, I draw comics." So yeah, this was a natural, you know,
Progression,
and then it was like, "Oh, yeah, you draw it," you know, and you know, all the crime side of, you know, the criminal part of it apart, you know, it was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I immediately found a relationship with like, oh, I draw comics, he drew comics, then he did graffiti. Oh, I could do that too, you know.
How'd you come up with your name and everything?
Well, the graffiti names and stuff, they changed a lot for many
okay.
years, and then finally, like many years later, you know, a good friend of mine that I met who was quite a lot older than me, he realized sort of, I don't want to just say like,
you don't have
whatever,
to.
but,
Yeah.
you know, he kind of handed me my name based on my characteristics. You know, he was like,
right.
oh, you're
So
always doing this stuff.
So write that.
Yeah. And that.
So were you riding up in the Bay?
Oh yeah. Heavily. Yeah.
Were you in a crew? Were you a solo kind of a street artist?
I was kind of solo. I had a lot of partners for many years. That was kind of how I rolled. Like I would have the one guy that I did lots of spots with, and we did a lot. You know, there was a lot of guys like that over the years, and but that's the one thing you realize pretty quickly when you're doing graffiti is that like, you know, if you don't have a crew, you can run into a lot of problems, which at the time I was just like kind of, you know, whatever about it. I just for me, I was never in it for like anything other than the art, you know?
Yeah. But there are beefs, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of
beefs,
beefs
stuff, right?
and, you know, and you don't, you know, people recognize who's powerful and who's not. I mean,
yeah. How does that usually work? Like, because I don't write or anything, but I've known just the homies locally. Like, I'm not going to say their names or anything, but it seems like it's like a world unto itself. Like, it's like this underbelly of, it's like
yeah, I
this
mean,
microcosm of a different
it's a
world.
little like bit of, there's a structure to it for sure.
There
and
is.
like,
how does that work? Like, if you get up, like getting up is like if you're seen a lot, then.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, originally if you're starting from the, you know, the ground up, you're just writing a name or something to get recognition and all these different things. And as you start to maybe gain recognition, maybe you start to become more of a target or something.
Wait, is it because of jealousy?
I think probably. I mean, there's a little of that, or there's just a little bit of that game. I mean, I don't think like graffiti is any different from any other thing, you know. I mean, it's a little bit more literal because you write your name on the wall, some other guy comes, crosses it out. I mean, it's very much like
it's kind of like it's like the hip hop culture, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like one b-boy against another b-boy.
For sure.
It's like challenging the other guy or whatever.
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's one of the elements of hip hop. But
so, how did you learn? How did you learn the different kinds of like what kinds of pens to get, or what were the most effective things that like
I mean, over time you just run into other guys and they tell you, oh,
hey, have you tried
is
this
good,
marker
or this is good or whatever. And
I always wondered that.
For me, I was always like kind of, I don't know, for like a lot of parts of my life with whether it was skating, graffiti, or art, I've always sort of like run into really great mentor type of people that would be like, oh, hey kid, do this or do that. And like, you know, like, I don't know how that works actually, but you know, I've always been fortunate in that regard that like, you know, because I think that's what it comes down to. But, you know, things are very different nowadays because, you know, when I was coming up with, you know, skateboarding or graffiti, it's like, you didn't even know what tricks were on a skateboard, or maybe you didn't know even what a good tag even looked like, or a good throw up or anything. So, you know, coming up with that, you were just like left to your own devices. Now it's like,
it's on if people have their own Instagram, like graffiti Instagrams.
If a kid wants to write graffiti now and he's 10 years old, he can go online and just find out a good hand style right off the bat or whatever.
Yeah, so it's way different.
But I think it goes back to what you were talking about earlier too, with just skating in general, is that like, you know, you immediately see what's good, so you can copy off of what is
what
the
you
best
like about it. Yeah.
Immediately, whereas like back in the day, we had to like search to even find like what was going on.
Yeah, even with videos, you'd have to wait years for the VHS tape to come out or whatnot.
But I also equate that like with music and stuff like that or whatever. It's like, you know, how did you find out about new music when you were growing up? You went to go see some band you liked, and hopefully the opening bands would be like, oh, that was the new band. Yeah.
That's how I kind of like. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like with graffiti, like there's a rap group called the Artifacts.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like because they rapped about graffiti and all that. I know they're from like the East Coast, but I'm like, oh, these guys are like rappers, but they're they're all about they're talking about this, aspect of
for
it.
Sure,
so
for sure.
It kind of opened my eyes. So I was like, oh.
I remember like the Alcoholics were also into graffiti.
Oh, I'm a big fan of theirs. Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of Bay Area. That was the thing with a lot of like Bay Area hip hop, like the Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
I'm a big dude. I'm a big fan. I'm a big Hyro fan.
Souls of Mischief and all those guys. And then even like on the flip side, like Saphir.
Big fan of Boxcar. I love
Hobo
Saphir.
Junction.
Oh my
Hobo
God.
Junction.
Big fan.
Boom.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Boxcar Sessions, ladies and gentlemen, go cop that album. It's a banger. It's a hidden gem.
I don't know if your audience knows about it, but that is one of the.
So you guys look up Saphir, Saafir, Saphir the Saucy Nomad. One of the best. I wish more people talked about him more.
Yeah, me too.
That guy.
Man. Absolutely.
If you want to talk about just like
and
this
legendary freestyle battles.
Oh my God! Just
and all
his
stuff.
style was unlike just the way he rapped and everything. People don't talk about him. I'm a dude, but I remember he was popping off on before the battle with Hyro. But I was like trying to figure out who he is. Then my homies got a tape of him, and I'm like, who's this guy? And then he ended up battling Casual, and then it was on the Wake Up Show.
Yeah.
And then that was the tape that everyone was
exactly
seeking. They're like, oh, dude, it was on the radio, and it's going to be on the radio. They're battling hieroglyphics and all that. But
and he embarrasses them. He
should be bigger. I mean, credit to Hyro. I'm a big fan of all of them. But I think Saphir should still be around as well.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and he was affiliated with some like graffiti writers in Oakland.
He's from the Bay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oakland.
Oakland. Okay.
Oakland.
Yeah. That was like 94. That was like in the 90s, early 90s.
And like some really like some guys I really looked up to from Oakland graffiti writers. They're kind of.
Oh, have you heard of Top Ramen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Topper. Hell yeah. He's
Topper,
a friend.
Dude.
He's a friend.
Okay, I got a story about them. He was from when I was in Arizona. I went to this rap show with Hieroglyphics Living Legends, and then there's a local crew called Supermarket. There's local because I went to school in Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona State.
Yeah.
There's a local hip hop scene in Arizona at the time when I was going to school
sure.
there. But there's we were there, and then I always look out for the openers. Because I already know, I already know what those.
Right.
I knew about Hyro and Living Legends, but the third act, it was this big white guy with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I see this guy, and I'm thinking, Bryce, what is this going to do? Country music? What the fuck? What is going on? And there's
a freestyle king. He's a freestyle king.
I know. I'm going to get to that.
He's a freestyle king.
And there's an African American dude like dreads, Safari,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then who's the other guy? Boat. Boat. Is it?
Boac.
Yeah, okay.
B-O-A-C.
Okay, there's another white guy.
Yeah.
White guy, Boac. So there's a big white guy with a cowboy hat, and then they're walking out, and then they come out with the Star Wars dun 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 dun, and then I'm like, okay, this is something special. And then I think they started off with just freestyling, and then they're rapping super fast and like freestyling, and I'm like, okay, this is. And then I remember they're giving out stickers, and I remember the sticker. It was a circle with the pencil, but it was like all like
twisted up, like a pretzel,
it was like a pretzel
with a knot in it,
it was a knotted pencil.
Absolutely.
You remember that? Yeah. And I remember I went to the front row, and I just wanted, because they're like my favorite. I was like, okay, these guys are awesome, and then I just grabbed a sticker because.
Yeah, Top Ramen, man. He's a legend. He's a legend in SF, and he was also a really, really prominent graffiti writer in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I'm a fan, dude.
Freestyle King.
I took notice to that, man. They were unbelievable. I liked them better than the other acts.
Yeah.
I was like, these guys are... And then their name, Earthlings.
Yeah.
I was tripping out that night in my dorm room like, oh my God, how did they come up with that name? That's amazing. Yeah. Have you heard of these guys? Dude, look them up, man. But I'm a fan of that. Yeah. That's why I like that. I especially like that because you can never judge a book by its cover, but when you see it, it goes to show.
I also think too. You have a practice. You do it. So
but I didn't do it. I kind of did it, but they really influenced me. Like groups like that. I'm like, oh my God, this is what the art's about. What they did on stage, it blew my mind. Yeah, But God, they should be around. I wish they were around. Still.
Yeah, I haven't caught up.
Good group,
I haven't
dude.
caught up with them recently,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, I lived in San Francisco for 17 years, and I've been here now for about almost 5.
Yeah.
But for me, like with San Francisco and LA, like, you know, for many years it was like thinking about maybe moving to the East Coast. But for me, I was like, I loved the West Coast. And to me, to leave SF, I was also going to be leaving LA because all the time I lived in SF, I was always coming here because a lot of people don't understand how like easy that is. Like,
Just
you
to
know,
drive to-
especially like, you know, 10 years ago, you could rent cars. They were super cheap. Just jump on the 5,
Boom.
you know, smoking a joint.
Yeah, and you're
drive
there.
your car. Boom, you're here. And like vice versa. So like I've had a huge relationship with LA since 2002 was one
That's
of the first
awesome.
times I had an art show here.
Yeah, let's
in
talk
LA.
about that. Yeah, when did you how did you get the art show? Like, when did you start getting your own shows or
mean-
developing your style? You got like a lot of colors going on with your style as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like really basically how I started becoming like doing gallery shows and stuff like that was really like very organically grew from doing graffiti, and then I started to do a lot of like more like legitimate mural kind of work in San Francisco. In fact, some of the first murals I did in San Francisco, I was just sort of, you know, like, to be perfectly honest with you, is like I went to San Francisco. I wanted to do like a lot of graffiti in like the most traditional sense, like just writing a name. I was also there to skateboard, but like
You like EMB and stuff as well?
yeah.
Was
Oh,
that
yeah.
around? That was around.
I
back
caught
then.
the tail end of like EMB. I mean, actually, it was kind of over. Pier 7 had already started, but like people were coming back to EMB. But more importantly, I came in on the tail end of like the Union Square kind of scene.
Right.
And got to skate there a lot. And the thing in San Francisco too, especially in the like late 90s and probably still to this day, but like you get in with the skateboarders and like a lot of the skateboarders were also graffiti writers. So the kind of two things were like sort of intertwined. So for me, like showing up there was just like, oh, like finally home or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, you know, just to get there and like sort of get to go to all these spots that you've seen and also just graffiti wise, like, you know, some of my most favorite graffiti writers, that's where they were doing their things at the time. So getting to see that, it was all just like super inspirational. So
weren't they like even tagging on their grip tape, or they had a lot of them like did art on their grip tape as well?
Some
right?
people
like,
did. But, you know, like to me, that for me, like when with graffiti, I was always very secretive, so I never wanted anybody to know what
so
I
you
was
separated
doing.
it.
Yeah, I definitely separated it. That's a good
way to be.
That's actually a good thing that you just pointed out. Like, because I never, when I transitioned from being like graffiti to like doing art, I never sort of rode like a graffiti name into it. Whereas a lot of people,
your own way
a lot of people did that, but I did that totally out of like a utilitarian reason, which was like I didn't want to get busted by the police.
Right.
You know, nowadays it's like it's a lot different, and so like that's the thing. The also thing I'm just like sort of pointing out is like when I first started trying to like, oh, I'm doing art, I'm doing these things. There were like no real venues to even do this in the late '90s in San Francisco.
You mean to have your own show, like
to do
show
a
your
show?
art?
So it was like, you know, we were, you know, a lot of the skateboard culture, that's kind of what helped me become like an artist and become like what I am today is because I just had that DIY spirit. Like, oh, no gallery wants to show me, I'm going to do it myself. Oh, there's no skate park, I'm going to go skate this or I'm going to go do that. And that's like, you know, something I love that idea now is that like what we have as skateboarders is just sort of that spirit of like, oh, this is a bench, but I'm going to skate it. Or like, that's just on a very simple level. But like, you know,
that's amazing.
You look outside the normal box and like, no one's going to stop you. You know what I mean?
I like that. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, you got that spirit too.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I mean, this is what the show's like. We're not in a studio or this is my apartment.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I I told you when I got here, I thought when I watched some of your other episodes that maybe this was a studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I saw so? Like
No, I'm on your tip. I'm trying to be incognito. It's like it's a mirage. It's an illusion. So we are.
No way. Yes,
I'm just letting the viewers. We are in a studio. We are in a studio. So we're going back to San Francisco Bay Area skateboarding. Like back then, have you heard of FTC?
Of course, yeah. Because good friends.
My cousin Eddie. I just want to give a shout out to my cousin Eddie. He ran the one in Sacramento. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
But I remember just visiting the FTC in Sac and like really being proud of him and being like, wow, this is because it had like all the signed decks from like all of the like all of Javante's deck.
Those are dear friends of mine.
Yeah,
Kent Uhara is a good
Kent.
friend.
Yeah.
Ian Johnson has also like been there forever. Ando.
So have you heard of Eddie? Eddie's my cousin.
I haven't heard of him.
Yeah,
but I was at that shop in the
Sac?
early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just want to shout that out because FTC, that's like it's talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Sacramento they have such a great skate scene there. It's such a weird little town,
Did you ever skate? It was like it was kind of shaped like an ice rink. It was like under this airplane hangar thing.
I think that might still be there.
It was kind of like a do-it-yourself. They had
right.
like wooden ramps and.
I think they actually turned it into like something proper.
Oh, okay. Because I remember you'd have to pay like.
Matt Pales, can you tell us?
Yeah. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was kind of near the FTC.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people living there still skating.
That's cool.
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
It's a super
That's
awesome
so cool
scene.
that you're still skateboarding. A lot of people quit, man. You know what I mean? Like, and especially a lot of people quit like in their early 30s or whatever. And it's like you're like. Past that, and you're still. Yeah. And it seems like you still have your skills are still up there. Like you're popping stuff high, and still riding that piece of wood.
Trying it.
Yeah.
Trying to. Yeah.
So your first art show, like let's talk about like when you start transitioning into like your now your professional art career, like how it's at now as far as.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to get into writing a 10-page or a 10-chapter book about it, but I think to just keep it really basic, like so what I was saying earlier, like was doing a lot of graffiti, just whatever your standard illegal graffiti, rooftops and stuff like that, and really like moving to San Francisco was kind of like an awakening for me politically as well. Just you move to a city like that and all of a sudden you realize like, oh wow, you could be like community active, you can be involved in all these things that and it actually like matters, because like San Francisco's like got a pretty I guess original thing there in that like it is like this sort of big city, but it's also small. Like the community's small, everybody knows each other politically in the art community or what have you. And so it's like when you get involved there in different aspects of like, say, a community project or a nonprofit arts organization, or you can get involved in like your local politics or help different campaigns or whatever, like you can immediately see this huge effect. So like for me, that was like pretty groundbreaking or just earth shaking for me. And so one of the things I was really interested in when I moved there was this place called the Clarion Alley Mural Project.
Where was that located?
And it's in the Mission District.
Okay.
It's basically between 17th and 18th and Valencia Street, which is kind of just like the epicenter of San Francisco now. And basically it was like a mural project, and it was a lot of murals being painted there in the 90s were just very different than what you would expect like from a mural. It was like very avant-garde, very contemporary stuff. And I was really interested in this. And so basically I was going through there a lot, and like, it's just there. It's like very high traffic zone, and it's where all the bars and all that stuff is, and whatever, you go through there going to skate spots or whatever. And so my goal was to just do a mural there. And so I like contacted they would run this block party every year and be punk bands and stuff playing.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's still going on to this day. And I found out who was running the project, a guy named Aaron Noble, who actually lives here in LA now. But I contacted him because I was kind of just like, if I can just do a mural in this alley or whatever. And that's kind of how it started.
I like that.
Yeah, it was cool.
It started with the mural. You just want to do a mural.
I just wanted to do a mural.
Dude.
And that was kind of that actually, to make a long story short, was kind of the idea, is that like I just wanted to paint murals and do things. I wasn't even really thinking about like, am I going to be in a gallery? How do I make money?
That wasn't even in your head.
All this stuff. It wasn't even really part of the whole idea.
Yeah.
And so I guess, basically just did that mural, led to some other murals, and then immediately like I started to be contacted by like galleries and stuff. This is around 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And
I respect that, man. Because you had the right, I mean, from my opinion, you had the right intention to begin with.
For sure.
Because it should just be about that, right?
Right.
Like, I just want to do it.
Yeah, and and I had like not like, I saw things that I didn't like going on in the city,
which is
and
fine.
I was like, I can address these things in these murals or whatever. And then like, different types of gallery opportunities, just to take it a couple steps forward, it's kind of like in the last, like there's all a lot of stuff going on these days that are, and I don't hate on anything. I mean, everything that's going on is awesome. Just kids pushing things forward and whatever. Like, more power to them, But like for me, it was like I never had like motivations for anything. But nowadays, I just see different kids who are like, first, I'm going to go out on the street.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put up posters. And then I'm going to put them up around these galleries that I like. And then I'm going to,
there's a term for that, isn't it? Called like, clout chasing.
Yeah, or just like,
I heard that from the Tekashi 6ix9ine news. They're called my girl. Do you see my girl's eyes roll? Once I said that, I wish the camera was on my girlfriend. She rolled her eyes like, give me a break.
But like having like an agenda, like, I'm going to do these things in hopes that I end up in this white cube or whatever
for the result.
Yeah.
Opposed to, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Yeah. And I think too, like there's a mentality of that. I think that's like really, I don't know so much to this day, but I think especially in the late 90s and early 2000s and whatever, like in San Francisco, that was like a very prevalent mentality. Like people just wanted to do cool things.
Yeah.
Like, I have this awesome band and they just play in some warehouse or whatever. No, and of course, like, you get a little older, you got to figure out ways to pay the bills, so on and so forth.
Can you make that distinction or the similarity to skateboarding as far as like the kid that just wants to skate the parking lot of Albertsons or Ralph's,
for sure,
opposed to like, what, I want to do street league, then I'm going to get picked up by this company, and then I'm going to skate for Active, and then I'm going to skate for Nike, and then it's like, it's crazy.
For sure.
It's kind of, it's similar, right? Wouldn't you say? Opposed to like, no, I feel like skating this bench right now.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do right now.
Or just, just thinking about some type of being strategic, I guess. And it's like I feel it because it's like,
it shows ambition.
I have an Instagram account, or whatever. You like do your thing, you put yourself out there in different types of ways. But I think like, we're pretty lucky in that we're like kind of one of the last generations that got to experience it all. I have a 6-year-old son, and like he's never gonna know what it was like to not have a iPhone, or every minute of his life's been being recorded.
Yeah, dude.
Since he was like,
it's crazy.
born.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, back then when we're growing up, it's like the dude with the beeper was like the man, you know? You'd be like, oh, damn, he's got a beeper? And then he'd beep, and then he'd go to 7-Eleven, and he would be like, you know, but it's like, it's a trip now. Like, these kids, when they're like little kids, there's iPad kids games. They're like, they know what to push, and it's kind of scary, dude.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story that's really crazy. Okay. Is like my kid is in kindergarten right now. And me and my wife, we just went for the first, review or a teacher's conference, whatever. And we go in there and we find out my son, he's doing really well. And
what grade is he in?
He's kindergarten.
Oh, kindergarten. Okay.
So, but they're very progressive these days.
I'm sure they are.
You'd be surprised. I mean,
they're advanced.
He's in kindergarten. He's reading and he's doing all this stuff. Like I don't remember really learning how to read till first grade.
Picking my boogers,
you know.
Yeah. They're like
but anyway, whatever. You have a kid, you're always thinking, oh, I'm going to go in here. There's going to be something maybe he's not doing. And teachers, oh no, he's doing great, blah, 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 blah. But then to the flip side, she wants to explain, so some of the kids come in here and they're doing this because, they'll go, oh, his grade is this, but they want you to know, oh, well, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 4, which is strange, they want you to know they're trying to figure out if your kid's ready to go to first grade or not.
Right.
But to make a long story short, the teacher actually said that some of the kids in there, they don't even know how to turn a page in a book, and that they look at a book and they try to swipe at it like it's an iPad.
Oh my God.
I'm not even joking.
Dude, it's like we're going to be in the cyborg generation soon, dude. That scares me.
Yeah.
God, you just gave me a scary visual of a kid like doing that. Oh. What do you guys think about that? Isn't that scary? It's messed up,
He already heard the story.
It's messed up.
The day after I heard this, I was so happy that my kid was doing great.
Yeah.
I was just like so alarmed that this was the state of affairs. But really, it's not that surprising, Wow. But
so, what are your thoughts on like the advancement of technologies and like the future of that, as far as like where we're headed? Or whatnot.
I mean, are we going to really get into a AI discussion?
No, we don't. No, I don't know. We don't have that much more time now. Well, just give me. No, we don't have to do a conspiracy thing. No, because I saw Elon Musk on a Rogan saying it scared me. Before they smoked the blunt or whatever. But I was like, oh man, he was like, it could be, it could be the end of humans or whatever. If the robots or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's headed in that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've started to have anxiety problems over the last couple of years, so I'd rather not think about it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm happy that, it started with like a mural that you just want to do, and then now you're doing shows, and that wasn't your intent, but you're...
well, I mean, I can't honestly say I didn't want to become like something. I mean, I was just like going through the motions of following more like my passion, and
opposed to the results, like how we were talking about earlier. Like, I just want to do this because this will equate to this. You know what I mean?
I guess at the time I feel fortunate that I was able to sort of not care too much. I'm fortunate that I had parents that really supported what I was doing, and even though all the stuff I put them through, they believed in me, and I managed to be lucky when I moved to San Francisco and got myself, at least for the first couple years, I was in a really cheap living situation, so I didn't have to make like decisions about like, oh, I need to make money or whatever. So it's like I'm never trying to be like, oh, who cares? Like blah blah blah. Like I know there's like real life things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And
so going back to your first show, when did you learn? Did you sell like pieces your first show? Like when did you start like selling your own art like to like
yeah? So back to that. I mean, when I first did some of the first murals, some of the like really cool really cool gallery and arts organization in San Francisco, like kind of immediately took notice, and they're called the Luggage Store Gallery, still there to this day.
What's up. Hell yeah.
I mean, they're like pretty much one of the first gallery that gave like Barry McGhee like a first show, and Margaret Kilgallen. I mean, they were really paved the way in San Francisco for a lot of things. I mean, I can't give enough love and respect up to Daryl and Lori from the Luggage Store Gallery.
Shout out to Daryl and Lori for
509 Cultural Center.
Shout out to them for giving artists a shot.
But I mean, they've done phenomenal things, and they've continued to do phenomenal things. I mean, they just produced a gigantic mural on Market Street in San Francisco.
That's what's up, yeah.
On 7th and Market by Alicia McCarthy, another huge influence artist that really has, she's like kind of a pioneer of San Francisco, and really like she's done a lot of things for me over the years, and
That's
huge
cool.
influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they took notice of like the things I was doing, and sort of gave me this opportunity to they had an apartment at the time on Haight Street with these windows that they would they had a gallery, but I don't think I was ready for the full gallery type of thing, but they let me put paintings in the windows of their house on Haight Street, because they would let younger artists do installations in the windows of their house.
And the people took notice of that?
Yeah, and then people took notice of that, and then my first show was actually in a cafe on Haight Street at Haight and Fillmore called the Cafe International.
How many pieces you have in there?
I had like 20 in there, but like sold them all.
Sold them all, dude?
Yeah, and like that was the thing. It was like I was doing kind of shows at these weird spots, and then
cool.
I was making things happen for myself, and that was around the year 2000-ish.
How did that make you feel when you like? Were you surprised? You were like,
it gave me confidence, But
were you like just tripping, like, oh my God, they bought it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it gave me like that was really cool. I mean, it gave me the confidence to keep going forward. And that was, I mean, I think that's like a really important thing for young artists, is that
confidence.
You have that confidence to just keep moving forward. And like for me at the time, it was like, unfortunately in this day and age, it's like money talks in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, some guy was willing, and at the time, like, I was selling work for a couple $100 or even $100.
That was cool at the time, though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
that's a good chunk of change. Yeah, for that. Come on,
for sure.
That must have made you feel good, dude. Come on,
it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
So
but like to sell like a couple grand worth of stuff out of some cafe, and you're like,
wait, a couple grand?
Yeah.
Oh,
but then
a couple grand. All right, that's great. You know what? More power to you. I love that. But, yeah, we just went to art show, and it's like I was like, 2,000, 2,500. I'm like, we're breaking down the math. I'm like, they sell one of these, they got rent that month.
Yeah.
Right, babe? So man,
it's
I love
true.
that. I love hearing those.
Yeah, and like I said
stories.
At the time, it was like confidence for me. Like, because you're like, because I always say this as well with like the whole like art trip. It's like, I'm glad I don't know what I know now then.
Why?
Because I would have never tried to pursue this as a career.
Really? So with that being said, there might be some young artists watching this. Can you give them just three?
I mean, I gotta backtrack, because I'm just more talking emotionally, because it's just so hard, and there's so many things that go into being an artist, and more importantly, being able to have a career and make money and be able to like actually make it work for you. There's so much that goes into it, and like all I guess I was saying more is if I knew like the roller coaster ride I was getting on, I probably would have had less. I would have had a lot more reservations about moving forward.
Yeah,
because it's so tough.
What are the top 3 qualities these young artists coming up need in today's market? Just three, just whatever just comes to mind. Yeah,
that's easy. I mean, first off, I would just say hard work. A lot of people don't. A lot of artists don't understand that. It's like keep working. Right when you think you work so hard that you can't work anymore, that's you're at ground zero. Then you need to keep
wait,
working.
you're still at ground zero.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, I'm just saying, like, all things aside, like some young artists might have luck, they might know the right person, all these different things, and all those things help as well. But I would say, like, out of anything, just to be
hard work,
to show up and work, like, and that was the thing for me. It's like all I did for
years,
forever.
years.
And
what about number 2?
I mean, number 2, I would say would be to not become formulaic. And I always
give me an example of that. Like, what do you mean?
So
like to draw the
put
same
it into like a good context, maybe. And I hope your viewers are familiar with like the Beastie Boys. But
I hope so too.
But like,
I love the Beastie Boys.
But then you can understand. Like, you had like the first record came out, Licensed to Ill. And you're like, oh,
dude,
everybody's
Paul's
going
Boutique's
crazy.
One of my favorite albums.
And then Paul's Boutique.
Dude.
Paul's Boutique. You're like, oh, they're getting
Masterpiece.
weird. They're getting weird.
Dust
They're
Brothers.
doing all
Shout out to
this
the Dust
weird
Brothers.
stuff. And then comes Check Your Head. And you're like, wow, they like fine-tuned everything, right?
But then Ill
I'm
Communication.
just going to say, Ill Communication's good, but I feel like after Check Your Head, all of a sudden it was like,
Hello
kind of
Nasty?
realized like all the little things that the fans really liked. Oh, they really like it when we, plug the bass amp into the mic and blah, 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 like all these things. And so, like the I'm not saying I don't like everything after Check Your Head. I love everything the Beastie Boys ever did. But what I'm saying is like those first 3 records, you could really feel the experimentation
going on.
And like all the different things they were like really trying out and doing. And then after that point, it was like they figured it out. And then they just knew how to make, whatever you want to say, great songs. But for me, I think as an artist, and trying to stay true to that, it's like really about continuing the experimentation, continuing the moving forward, continuing to,
challenge yourself.
Challenge yourself, and not just like create the same hit song over
and over. Oh, that's what you mean by that.
That's what I'm talking about.
So 2, kids, experiment. Yeah?
Yeah.
Keep experimenting. Try new things.
Absolutely.
Dude, I love that.
I would say that.
Yeah. Number 3. And then we'll we'll bring it all together. Yeah.
Number 3 would maybe become like something I never actually did because it kind of would go against number 1. But I also think you need to be doing a lot of other things besides just art.
Oh.
So like, for example, like it's very easy to just like put
Sit
your
there.
brain into this thing. And it's like something I almost wish someone told me, but like, there were many years where this is the only thing I thought of. I didn't think of my family. I didn't think of
anything else.
Like,
well, you had skateboarding, dude.
I had skateboarding,
Yeah,
but to be
that's
honest,
something
to with you too, that like kind of took a way
Backseat?
backseat for many
right.
years,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then that came back to it. But it's not just about skateboarding; it's about your family. It's about the ones you love around you. Yeah. It's about all these things because like when you're on that mission to like accomplish this thing you're trying to accomplish, it's sometimes it can be a very selfish and egotistical adventure. And I guess the third thing I'm saying is just to like really balance everything and don't forget like the loved ones and don't forget that life is fragile at the same time. And so like you don't when you're younger, it's easy to think that like you have like this unlimited amount of time,
but you don't
to just do whatever. But like or like maybe even the people around you don't have unlimited time. So for me, all I'm saying is just to make sure that you keep track of everything, not just not just get on that put the horse blinders on
right.
And
dude, that was some great advice. Let's review. So hard work, right? Experiment, right? but then you also need balance in your life. So, because you never know, kids hit me up Instagram saying, "Hey, get more artists on. I really like the artists." So, I mean, there'll be some, young up and coming artists watching this right now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
How we doing on time, Bryce?
Yeah, we're getting close.
What's the time? Because we still have packages or whatnot. 55. We're doing good. Is there anything that you wanted to? I like to end it with just plugging your just all your social, or like if you have an art show coming up or whatnot, to let the viewers know when that is. Or what's your Instagram? First of all, it's
Instagram is at Schoultz, at ASCHOULTZ.
Yeah, Schoultz is SCHOULTZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, Schoultz.
So at A Schoultz.
At A Schoultz.
Right.
Okay, and then no Twitter or anything. No,
I don't do that.
Yeah.
And
And
Facebook's useless.
Yeah. I haven't been on there forever. So, A Schoultz. What about your? I noticed you have a website as well.
Yeah, that's just andrewschultz.com.
So andrewschultz.com.
Right.
Okay.
And I think the good old Google search, you'll find out enough information.
And then, do you have an upcoming show that we can
I'm working on several things right now. I'm going to be doing a show in Hong Kong for our Basel in next March. That's one thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
I just closed a show in New York that actually just closed this Saturday, but I actually curated a show that is still up till the end of the year in Germany at a gallery called Gallery Drost. And there's a lot of great artists in that show. Ed Templeton, James Jean.
Yeah, James was on here.
Yeah.
He actually recommended you. Right?
He's a good dude.
Yeah, James recommended you.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Shout out James Jean.
Watch his episode 2, guys. Jeez, watch James's thing, man. James did that for the band.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's really good, huh, too, as well?
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's detailed,
He's amazing. He's killing it.
I mean, that's
killing it.
Yeah, he probably embodies the stuff you're talking about. Yeah,
absolutely
because he has a kid
it.
now too as well.
Yeah.
So he has to balance it too as well.
For sure.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah.
And shout out to Money Mark from the BC Boys. I want a part 2 of Money Mark on here. So I want Money to come on here because he didn't really talk about. You kind of like the light bulb went off because I want to know more of the history of when how he was involved with the Beasties, because he was there during Check Your Head and all
absolutely.
that. From here to Gardena, they give little shout outs to Mark. So he I didn't tell you, Bryce, but Mark wants to come on here for part 2, so we got to make that happen, right?
That's awesome.
So shout out to Mark actually let me borrow this sampler here, and then that the piano Mark gave me that.
Wow.
So that's So shout out to Mark for
piano sounds amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. So that was his family piano, and then he gave me this. He didn't give me this sampler, but he let me borrow this 202.
That's
Because
awesome.
I'm working on my own solo project as well.
Yeah, when his first instrumental record dropped.
The keyboard, the keyboard repair. Yeah. Oh, he's a genius, man. He really he's something else. So we want a part 2 with Mark, and this is the time where I have to give out shout outs too. Shout out to the new Patreons: Zachary Sadak, Epic Yum Yum, and Manny Mangibbon. Okay, so if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Steebee Weebee and make that pledge. I do a weekly diary log every Monday. Are you enjoying them, Bryce? Yeah, I talked about Red Dead Redemption. A lot of Red Dead Redemption talk. So go. That's a special thing for my patrons. The new album's almost done. It's practically done. Yeah. So it's going to be available at SteebieWeebieBandcamp.com. All right, since you interrupted there, Bryce, the reason why, it's not the only reason, but Red Dead Redemption's really we've been spending a lot of time in the wild, wild west, running in the Driscoll gang and different gangs on there. The Murphy Brood gang. Follow the show on Instagram /QUANGOU. If you want to send stuff to the show, send it to the Steebee Weebie Show at 1425 North Cherokee Avenue, P.O. Box 1391, LA, California 90093. Thanks again, Andrew, for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We got to do a part 2 in the future, brother. And so point, we like to open up these packages. So I have to guess.
Take some photos.
I have to guess what's in here, and then this is from. Can you read that? See, what does that say? See.
See hands.
See hands.
See hands.
Okay, see hands. So I'm gonna.
Minnesota?
Yeah. Yeah. So see hands from Maple Grove, Minnesota. I feel like there's gonna be like clothes or something in here. Hopefully socks, huh?
Looks heavy.
God, he really taped this thing good, huh? Ooh, is there a letter? So I think there is close. I kind of cheated. But there's a letter in here, huh?
Ooh,
Can you
long.
can you read that, Andrew? Like, I like to have my guests read it.
It says, Steebee Weebee, thanks for all the free content from your podcast. Your interview style is unique and super entertaining to watch between comedians, porn stars, rappers, and artists. I've been following you since DVD Asa, and you're definitely the funnier oil brother. I still remember when your brother twisted my nipples at the Hollywood Improv when I first moved to LA and helped Sam Tripoli with the Naughty Show. If Sam gets on the podcast again, you should ask him about that show. The content between DVD Asa, Tiger Belly, and the Steebee Weebee has gotten me through homelessness twice and a lot of ups and way more downs over the last few years. To thank you all for all that you do, I wanted to give you and everyone that's helped you along the way some of my free art that I've been giving away for the last few years. I still haven't set up an online store, so there's nothing to promote. But feel free to do whatever you want with these shirts. Hand them out, hoard them, whatever. Okay. They're yours to do as you wish. Thanks again, Steebee. Mm-hmm. Keep up the great work. You've come a long way since the Red Zone days.
Mm-hmm. God bless you, brother. What's
Thanks. C. C.
With S-E-E?
Yep.
Shout out to C from Maple Grove, Minnesota.
IG handle at Sawhung.
IG handle Sawhung. S-A-W-H-U-N-G.
P.S. Sorry to hear about Fat Sal's. Heard about the car crash and destroyed the best sandwich shop in L.A.
I used to work there. So this is great stuff. You guys are coming home with a shirt. There's so many shirts in here. They got me. There's.
Not done?
What? No, I'm not done. It keeps coming. It keeps coming.
Those are hand-drawn?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they are.
Wait, take a look, Andrew. They just keep coming, huh?
Oh, no.
Whoa.
Babe, you're gonna wear these to work.
All of them.
All of them.
One for each day of the week.
Put them all on, Steve. Try them on.
All of, there's so many. Oh, this is great. Look at the color. Babe, look at this. This is
I
you.
like that one.
Babe.
I think they are. I think they're hand-drawn.
It hit her in the face.
These are hand...
Oh, they
I think
are?
they're handmade.
Oh, babe, look. This is for you, too. Look.
Oh, that's pretty.
Babe,
Yeah, just
Yeah, these are
Okay.
handmade, dude.
thank you. So I'm going to put these, and then I'm going to hand them out at the end, right? You guys each get one, okay? So the next one is from... The next one's from my man, Nathaniel Odom. He keeps bringing in the love. Yeah, Nathaniel just keeps giving and giving and giving. Right? Look out for Losco Projects, okay? Go check out his podcast. He, my man right here, interviews all skateboarders from the Bay Area, from up north. Yep. Let me see here. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, did I? Oh, no, I did.
It's up here.
Oh, jeez, it's up here. I'm sorry, Nathaniel. Oh my God, okay. Thank you for the support. Enjoy these stickers. Much respect, Steve. Keep hustling, Nathaniel, aka Losco Projects, right? .com, L-O-S-K-O, right? Losco Projects. Let's check it out. Oh, it's his podcast. LoscoProjects.com, right? Skateboard podcast.
He's ahead of us. We don't even have official stickers.
I know.
Man, that guy.
He's killing it.
You need stickers,
I know,
dude.
I know I do. We need more than stickers though, huh, Bryce?
In development.
Yeah, in development. Yeah, we're getting there, huh? Maybe, shout out 60,000, 60K,
Over finally.
60,000 subscribers, guys. Appreciate that. We're on our way, right, Bryce?
We are.
Now I'm nervous.
Okay.
We already arrived, but yeah, we're also still on our way.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm
Appreciate
nervous.
the support.
I wonder what this is. This feels like clothes too. This feels like a shirt.
I'll be getting those YouTube
Yeah,
paychecks
so,
pretty soon.
shout out to Douglas Connolly from Australia, South Australia.
Wow.
Whoa. That's
Should
a
be
far
right,
ways away. Have you ever been to Australia?
Yeah, when I was younger, I went on a tennis tour for Stone Ridge Country Club. I vaguely remember it. I just remember like I got beat 6-0 on a clay court by some kid. I never won a match. Okay. Oh look. Oh look at this. Wow, look at these stickers. Look at that, huh? Pemberton. What is this? Pemberton. They're just cool stickers. Wicked Sisters.
Can you tilt it towards the
Kitty
camera there?
Kisses.
Nice.
Okay. Wicked Sisters. We suck. Okay. There's what does that say? Horror, my friend. Horror, my friend.
my friend.
Okay, sorry. Horror, my friend. Another horror, my friend. And colorblind. Okay. Stickers. And it says right here. Instagram.com/library group records. Yeehaw! libraryGroupRecords.com. So it's like a music label. Okay. Okay, there's a letter. I'll read this
You
one.
mind if I do a story?
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Steve, love the show. Thank you for introducing me to all these people you've had on and for staying on it. Shout out to George and Bryce.
Finally, somebody recognized.
Finally, Bryce gets some recognition. In celebration of Collage of the Mirage, I've sent you some of my band's tapes. After you wondered if people are still releasing those things, hope you like it. It's some strange dream pop shoegaze from South Australia. Big love, Douglas. P.S. Dream guest Fat Lip and Caro Bonito. We could possibly make those happen in the future, right, guys? I just saw Fat Lip at Starbucks.
Oh, we had a book. Guys.
Yeah.
Try again.
Huh?
We almost had it. We'll try again.
Caro Bonito. We're on it, right, babe? Yep. And Fat Lip, we're on it. We're gonna try, okay? Let's look at. Wow, look at this, huh? I love Kirby's anticipation. Kirby, it's not for you. It's not snacks. Ooh, there's a medium shirt. Oh, jeez.
Stuff. All the way from Oz.
Australia, too, huh?
All the way from
Look
Oz.
at this. It's
Tight.
I like this.
Awesome.
Says, join the Sad Punks Club, Best Wishes Records. And then it has this in the back. Draining. It's cool, right? Yeah, I'm definitely rocking that too as well. Okay, is that it? And then do you have tapes? Sorry, Kirby. No, you just... Huh? I know, no, we'll keep going. And then look at these tapes, man. Oh, this is this is the album, Draining. The Dissonance.
More tapes. Steve, we need tips for your album.
Yeah, I know. I need to press up tapes. So, for Douglas, let me know where you got your tapes pressed up. I'm just curious. Because they turned out pretty cool, huh? Look.
Super cool.
Yeah. So people are still doing tapes. Do you guys have a tape?
People are doing tapes.
Yeah. They're coming back. Okay, and so I can't forget. Look at this.
Really
Look at
rap
that Chevy Chase, dude.
Favorite movie?
You guys seen Fletch?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's a great movie. Fletch. Fletch? Yeah. Okay, so this is from Will Star Columbus, Ohio. Okay? Ohio. I wonder what this is. Let me see here. Oh shit, this is gonna... Yeah, the whole thing's gonna fall. Okay, we good? Okay. Jeez. Sorry, Bryce. God, they really taped the crap out of this one. Oh my God, look at this. Okay. I'm guessing, you know, we've gotten so many shirts. I think it's a shirt again. It's my favorite. Come on, guy. Oh no, maybe it's not. You know what? What if one of these is poo one day? Someone just sends poo. That would be amazing. If someone just said... Oh, right when I said that, I thought I smelled something.
Careful, Steve. Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, you can edit that out. I don't want anyone to send poo. Okay, here we go. Whoa, what?
It does smell like something.
Union made hydrating body bar soap.
Yeah.
Babe, we got soap. It smells amazing. Smell it, Andrew. Union made.
Yeah. I could
And
smell
we
it.
have a rock.
That's drift. Is that? Oh wait, that's petrified wood. I think.
Yeah.
That's
What?
petrified wood.
I don't know. I'm gonna read it. I love it. I don't know. I might need it for down there.
Yeah, this is petrified wood.
Dear Steebee Weebee, Merry Christmas. I love the show. I just started watching not too long ago and was going through your older episodes and heard you say that you like to smell soap. I too have this same passion in life. I believe I have found the greatest soap of all time and wanted to share it with you. Not only does it smell fantastic, but it lathers up and cleans your skin just as good. This is amazing. Also, I want to say thank you for inspiring me to start doing my own podcast called the Half-Ass Dad Podcast. Check out the Half-Ass Dad Podcast, guys. Keep an eye out for it. I have some pretty good creative ideas I want to experiment with and see how it goes. Love you, man. Shout out to Kirby and the white devils behind the cameras. I thought she called you a devil. I'm sorry. Oh, come on. He's it's good spirited. Love always, Power Pounder 666. P.S. I threw in a moon rock. It's a moon rock. I threw in a moon rock as well, aka petrified wood. You're right.
It was right.
Oh my God, amazing. Thank you so much. This was amazing. All right, with that being said,
You know how petrified
yeah.
wood's made, right?
No. Explain it real quick and then we'll...
Volcano blows up, and then the volcanic stuff goes over everything, and then trees and wood that are...
Oh, so this is...
happens.
We'll put this by the rocks over there, huh, babe? Okay, with that being said, Andrew, that was a blast, dude.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
Thanks.
it. Oh, this is going to drop next week, by the way. So, no, Low Rays World, it's going to be next week. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. 60K.